We're going clamming today out of the canoe, and some of the things you're going to need is a bucket. I've got my gloves here. You always want gloves because it'll protect your hands. This is a little cleansing net that I use, or a floating net for clams. This is nothing but a pool noodle that I got for a couple bucks. PVC pipe that I had laying around. I kind of took an air dryer and bent it, and it fit right in here, and I just glued it up with I think some shoe goop. I put zip ties around this, and this is simply a little net toy bag, a water toy bag that I got for a couple bucks, and I made this thing, and this is a great, it has a string, floats right by me, and I can collect my clams, rinse them, and put them in my trap. The tools you'll need some type of rake for the cockle shells. That's where we're going today. It's basically a sand shell cockle. It likes to live in the sand, near rocks. Sometimes they're right on the surface if you get a really, really low tide. This is a rake you can use. This is my extension, and this is what I primarily use nowadays. This is a big clam rake, and this is sold by Eagle Claw. I got it on Amazon, and I called Eagle Claw, and I wanted the extensions for this, and they wouldn't sell them to me. They said they just come with the kits. They don't sell the poles. So if anybody knows where I can get the poles for this type of rake, give me a comment. I'd love that. I'll post it. I'll let everybody know, because I'll tell you what, if you have extensions on this, I'm going to show you what I do with my Jimmy rig thing, how we're going to get clams in deep water that are complete. It's a completely legal way to get clams, and you can get clams when nobody else can even think of getting clams. These mats are critical when you're clamming, because our clamming rakes, the clams themselves, everything's kind of coarse and it can scratch your canoe. So I originally got these mats in fishing to keep the boat quiet, but I found them invaluable when it came to clamming, because it kept my boat clean and scratch free. Let's go clamming. Now, just like fishing, same with my clamming. I was a little bummed because earlier it was super foggy, and I go, great. I don't have to resort to camera angles or short field of focus to protect my spot. I'm not going to show you exactly where I clam. I'm not going to show you the rocks I stand on when I fish, but I'll tell you where to go, and I'll tell you how to find those spots. One of the ways to find them is just simply come in a low tide, the lowest tides, and see where people clam. And remember those and say, hey, when the tide's high like today, it's not a good clamming tide, it'd be like a crabbing tide, you can still get clams. You just have to remember where those spots are. Or you can simply do it like trial and error like I did. Go to different islands that are still showing on a low tide, but not a clamming tide, but a low tide, and just try clamming those islands until you find a spot. And that's how I did it. Or you can simply come to the Oregon coast. We're at Waldport here. I think it's Alsea, like some people feel Alsea Bay. And if you see me clamming, you'll know my spot. So that's something you can do, is just find your own spot, and you can clam away. This is one of my spots where I get cockles. You can do this by trial and error. I also found out when you come in a real low tide, a good clamming tide, people will be out here, and you can mark it that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start clamming. I'm going to use the large rake, and we'll see how we do. Oh, you can feel them. You can feel them. You want to not disturb the grass, because that's where they live. So here we got clams. I got 3 on that scoop. There's my 3 clams. See if I can remember where my spot was. I feel something. These are called rock clams, but I did get one cockle. You can tell the difference when you rake if it's a rock or if it's a cockle. You can kind of feel there's a light tapping feeling with a clam, and the rocks are kind of dead feeling. Wow, 3 more beauties. All palm-sized clams. Another. We're halfway to our limit. All right. I know I'm going to get a lot of comments having waders in a canoe. I taught swiftwater rescue, and when the weather gets warmer, I am going to show you how to survive with waders. And if you have a life vest, you will never drown. You'll stay afloat for days, or people in other life vests will sink before that. So if you use waders properly, they are a fantastic floating device. And I'll show you how to use them and how not to use them. And we'll talk about some river rescue. We got about 10 clams. The limit's 20. I'm going to show you another way to get clams. That was island clamming, paddling to a remote island that people can't get to. Now keep in mind, it's too deep to wade across to get to these islands, but it's way too shallow to drive a boat because there are sandbars everywhere. So the only way you can reach them is with a canoe or a kayak. And of course, the kayak, you'll have absolutely no room to store buckets, gear, clams, take a second person, dog, whatever. So I use a canoe. It's perfect for clamming, and I'm going to show you my second technique that I use, which I found out is completely legal. The key thing to this is when you clam in deep water, you cannot use a motor. You have to be either anchored or drifting, and you can pull up clams, and it's completely legal. If you run a motor, even electric, and you dredge to the bottom, that's illegal. But I'm going to show you how to dredge clams. Deep water clams is what I call it, and show you how to do it. So I don't lose my basket because I don't have extensions to go all the way. I just made a little hook. I hook it to my basket. I hook my wood extension in here, pushed it in, and I twist it up to where the rope is tight. And now, hopefully I won't lose my basket. I'll always be able to hang on to it because it goes to the end of the rope. Let's go clamming. All right, we're in this trench where I happen to know the cockles are. Let's see what I got. Nothing. Okay, let's try it again. Get the rake way out. And I'm going to let the current drag us down. Oh, I think I feel something. Raking. I feel it. Let's see if we got anything. Got a cockle. Good job. Let's try it again. As long as you're not using a motor, you're completely legal. 2 more. Not super large, but hand size. They're gonna work. This is deep water clamming. Again, if you're not under motor power, it's perfectly legal. Let's talk about protecting your prizes. I showed you how to go out and get clams, both in deep water and on islands when it's not a low tide. I think today we're looking at just under a foot above zero. So it definitely wasn't a minus tide, and that's when most people clam. And most people don't clam when you're above zero, nearly a foot above zero, what we did today. But if you know where your clams are and you have a rake long enough, you can get out to the islands or do that deep water clamming that I talked about. Remember, don't be under power with electric motor or any type of motor, because that is not legal. But as long as you're drifting or paddling, you're absolutely fine. So let's take a look at our trophies here. You can see we got some pretty good sized cockles. My wife wanted me to explain to everybody that nobody's going to believe that I was getting 3 or 4 at a time. I didn't do it today, but many times I've gotten 5. Multiple times, like 5, and then a few minutes later got another 5. That eagle claw rake is great for that. The negative, it's metal, it's cold on your hands, it's hard work, it's unwilling. I ran into a couple gentlemen that have had those in the past. They're a little, and they tried it one time and hated it. It's a little bit of work to use because it's a slow drag and it's a tactile feel. You feel the clams, and once you feel them, you kind of stay in that area and keep scooping and pull it in, and you'll load up on clams. And like I said, it's the only way I know to get clams from a boat in deep water. I got it rigged up to about 12 feet of water that I can go down and rake and get clams. So the other thing we want to do, you can keep your clams. You'll find all this research on the web where you can keep clams in a bucket with a wet towel on top. They'll stay alive for days apparently in a refrigerator. You can look that up online so I don't give you any misinformation. If you put water in it, like my wife's parents used to do, they drove up and down the coast. So when they went back home, they constantly pulled over every couple hours and refilled with fresh salt water, keeping the clams, happy. But if you just leave them in water and you don't refresh it, they're going to die. They'll run out of oxygen. So if you have clams in a bucket and there's no water, they're not going to purge themselves. Cockle shells, these cockle shells, they take about a day. I use a day and a half that I keep them in water, and they'll purge themselves completely of sand. There's nothing worse than having a beautiful meal, fresh clams. It's like the gold from the sea, and you get sand in the clam. It just ruins the meal. So these clean out probably in about a day. I usually let them go a day and a half so I know there's no sand. The purple varnish that I've showed you before in other videos, those take nearly 3 days. 2 days at least, maybe 3 days. They're the slowest purging of all the clams up here, but they're a great steamer. In a bucket, no water, they won't purge. In a bucket with water, you don't change it, you'll kill them. You got to change the water. My solution is I got this little bait trap oxygen aerator like they use. It's portable, it's for bait tanks, maybe aquariums if you're traveling long distances. Has a little stone, you drop it in, you turn it on. It runs off of D-cell batteries. Make sure you get some rechargeable batteries. D-cell batteries nowadays will cost you an arm and a leg. 2 batteries could be as much as 12 or 14 bucks in a store. Get yourself rechargeables, get a charger, you're going to use this forever. The other thing I did is I put some E6000, which is like shoe goop, silicone, right where this connects through the hole. And I don't get any splashing when I'm driving. Otherwise, I'd get splashing. I got water up here and actually ruined one of these devices. I never wanted to do that again, so I seal these. This is simply Velcroed on, and just put that on there. If I want to disconnect it and take it off, I take it the tubing off here. And this is my little kit. Put it down, seal it on, turn on the air, and they're happy as a clam. So enjoy, go get clams. Remember, I showed you in a canoe how to get clams when nobody else is clamming. Everybody clams on the minus tides. especially the extreme minus tides. But you can go out now in what we call a zero tide, like right about zero, a foot below, 6 inches below zero. Most people will never try clamming because it's too difficult, and you're going to limit out. So when I come up crabbing, and keep in mind, crabbing tides are terrible for clamming because you don't want a lot of water movement. And clamming tides are terrible for crabbing. So I can come up on a crabbing tide, get the lowest tide of the day, go out, get my limit of clams, and then go out and knock out the crab. And that's what we're up here for. So enjoy. Hi, I'm up here in Central Oregon, and we're going to talk to my source of information. This is Robbie at the dock of the bay.
How you doing? We do crabbing here. You can call me. I'll give you the full deal, the truth about crabbing, and not if it's good or if it's bad. All you got to do is get a hold of me, and I'll let you know what's going on at the Alsea Bay. Thanks.
Robbie has been a source for me. This guy is more accurate than a Timex watch. If he says you're going to get 60% females, 40% males, that's exactly what you get. If you're going to get shells that are like 20% soft, 80% hard, that's exactly what you're going to get. If he says, hey, people are limiting out, you got a good chance of limiting out. Now, there is some skills and techniques to crabbing, and Robbie and his crew here are going to give you the info to go out and do it. This is not a picnic. You don't go out and just drop the traps and eat a ham sandwich. There's work involved. But when you do it, there's nothing funner than pulling up a net full of crab. Hey, when you're done crabbing or clamming and you've built up an appetite, hey, right here, the Salty Dog. Check it out. It's great food, really good prices, and you will be full.
Well, hi there. You folks ready to order?
Yes.
And you said you wanted the fresh halibut fish and chips.
The fresh halibut
tonight,
fish and chips.
And that comes with French fries and coleslaw. And you want the Dungeness crab louis. Yes. And you like Thousand Island dressing? Yes. Perfect, you guys. Thank you very much.